Hi, it's Danita from Integrity Coding. We're going to take some time and discuss some pathology coding. I know a lot of students, and when I first started, I would be lying if I said Path and Lab is one of my favorite subjects. But what I did is I knew I wasn't enjoying it. I'm like, oh, it's hard and I don't like it. Well, I really try not to say things like that. Oh, this is hard. Oh, I can't do it. I really make an effort to eradicate that from my vocabulary. Because you know what, as a coder, you could work in a multi-specialty and you may be working on lots of different types of, with different types of physicians and specialties, and you can't afford to say, oh, I don't like it. Instead, you need to turn that around to say, wow, this is a blessing. I get to be exposed to all these different specialties and subspecialties. Some coders just work in one particular area. I work in OBGYN, which I do enjoy very much. I'm specialized in OBGYN, and I do enjoy that. But, you know, when instead of feeling overwhelmed by a certain subject matter, you need to turn it around and just make yourself stop and say, nope, I'm blessed to be in this position. Before we get into Path and Lab, I wanted to bring something up to you. I was thinking today, because I have another big exam coming up, I'm going for cardiology. And I didn't pass it the first time. I'm going to be honest, I didn't pass it. It's very difficult, but do you think I'm going to quit? No. CPC, that exam prepares you so well. That's why I'm a big advocate of the AAP certification. I think that they really train you very, very well. The exam is very, I always say the word rigorous because it is. It encompasses a lot of information, and I just personally feel it makes you a very good coder. So I want to challenge you with this. If your exam is coming up, just think of this right now and make a note to yourself to do this when you sit down. When you sit down in that facility, before everything begins, just take a minute and just pray and say, you know what? I'm going to make a concerted effort just to be thankful that I'm sitting here. This is an opportunity that not many people get. I was able to, God made a way for me to afford to be here. I get to sit and get exposed to this exam, and I'm thankful. I'm going to take it for all it's worth. And then it sets off a whole new mentality when you sit to take that 5-hour and 40-hour test. And it really can be. Think of it. I did. When I sat down for my CCC, I said, no, I'm not going to get stressed out about this. I'm going to give it the best that I have. And I'm thankful that I get the opportunity to learn, to be around this, to see what it's like. Because you know what? One day I am going to be a certified CCC. And it could be very soon. I'm not saying when my next test is. But anyway, for those of us getting ready for the CPC, let's talk about some nuts and bolts of pathology coding. I'm going to give you some of my notes that I took from the Holy Grail of my very first coding book that I still keep because it has so many notes. So I'm going to be toggling back and forth. I'd like you to take out your 2018 book. I am on page 511 of your CPT book. It's Path and Lab. There's a little blank spot right here, so if you want to write these notes that I'm going to give you on the previous page on 510, please do so. I want you to write down things to remember. Things to remember for Path and Lab. Number 1, all elements must match completely. All elements must match completely. Number 2, if there is no match, comma, code separately. Number 2, if there is no match, comma, code separately. Number 3, do not use modifier 52 to reduce a panel. Number 3, again, do not use modifier 52 to reduce a panel. Number 4, do not code 2 or more panels that have the same codes. And if you look for a minute, and let's look at your panel codes. For example, I'm looking at the basic metabolic panel. BMP. Now, not only does it give you basic metabolic panel, if you look over it, for example, look at calcium ionized. It also gives you, if you were to code just that one code, it gives you the code right there. You know, CPT does not leave you high and dry. The information is there. It's a matter of just disciplining yourself and developing yourself. And I say that a lot because it's the truth. I've experienced it. You need to develop yourself as a student. Whoop. It's in there. You just need to develop it. God's put that in you. And you need to just say, look, I can get this. I can understand this. And just take a minute, take a breath, and say, okay, let's hit this again. So within these panels, they also give you the code for the specific lab that they're doing. Let's look at glucose, 82947. It gives you the code right there. So I'm going to review those notes that I just gave you, and I'm going to add one more to it. Number 1, all of the elements must match completely. Number 2, if there is no match, comma, code separately. Number 3, do not use modifier 52 to reduce a panel. Number 4, do not code 2 or more panels that have the same codes. Number 5, don't forget rules 1 through 4. How's that? So anything I have just said, it's because they're right in your coding guidelines. In the 2018, I would like you to look at page 511, and we're going to begin reading. Somebody asked me, is that all we do is read during your classes? And it's not. I do a lot of free classes. This coming Friday, and I will have the link below this, we're having a free 1-hour lunch and learn on Path and Lab. It's from 1 to 2 Eastern Time, and it comes with the handout. So as soon as you register, I'll send you the handout. We're going to be doing Path and Lab and the medicine section. All right, for experienced coders, it's a good review. For those preparing for your exams, your CPC or your CCS-P, which is the goal of my classes, to help prepare students, I want to see you pass. It is a good review of this section of your CPC exam. So I want you to look again, page 511, and we're going to begin reading. Coding guidelines are essential to becoming a coder of excellence. If you don't know your coding guidelines, it's going to make it very difficult to pass the exam. And then when you're on the job, as I've spoken to many people and many hiring managers, they're saying that their people really don't have a good foundation of coding guidelines. And that's unfortunate with all the money that we're spending on our education. So I'm telling you, know your guidelines. For the exam, remember, it's an open book test, but you still need to know where to look for those guidelines and have it highlighted. So let's begin reading. These panels were developed for coding purposes only and should not be interpreted as clinical parameters. The tests listed with each panel identify the defined components of that panel. These panel components are not intended to limit the performance of other tests. If one performs tests in addition to the specifically indicated for a particular panel, those tests should be reported separately in addition to the panel code. You should highlight that. Those tests should be reported separately in addition to the panel code. Do not, and when you hear do not in your coding books, take note and highlight it. Do not report 2 or more panel codes that include any of the same constituent tests performed from the same patient collection. If a group of tests overlap 2 or more panels, report the panel that incorporates the greater number of tests to fulfill the code definition and report the remaining tests using individual test codes. Report each panel separately, what I just gave you and the things to remember. For example, do not report 80047 in conjunction with 80053. All right? Let's now look at procedure code 80047. That's your basic metabolic panel. 80048, basic metabolic panel. The difference is the calcium. If you compare, like when I was getting a question wrong, I always put one finger on one code, one finger on another, and I said, where am I missing it? What's the difference? Well, if you look at your calcium in 80047 and then in 48, one is calcium ionized, one is calcium total. Now look at your 80050. This is your general health panel. 80051 is your electrolyte panel. 80053 is your comprehensive metabolic panel. Keyword there is comprehensive. Turn the page. You have your obstetric panel. And then you have 80081, and you have the hashtag near that. And if you look at the very bottom of your guidelines in CPT, it tells you what all those symbols next to your code stand for. So this is resequenced code. So 80081 is an obstetric panel, but it includes HIV testing. 80069 renal function panel. And renal function, kidney. Remember renal, kidney. 80074 acute hepatitis panel. Hepatitis, liver. 80076 hepatic function panel. When I was first learning coding, one of my questions had to do with this panel. And I'm like, the scenario said it, liver function. And I'm like, I don't see a panel for liver function. Well, that comes down to knowing your medical terminology, hepatic liver. So if you want to write those medical terms next to these panel codes, it may help you. Okay? Next time we're going to be talking about drug assays. So again, relax for the exam, be thankful for the opportunity, and don't quit. Don't quit. If you'd like to join our free class this coming Friday, which is March the 2nd, 2018, from 1 to 2 p.m., I will have the link below this. I also have several recordings of classes. For example, I did one on ICD-10. That was a 2-hour class. I did one on integumentary. That was about an hour and a half. I did a 4-hour CPC and CCS-P boot camp. So if you would like any of these recordings, and I did one on cardiology. So shoot me an email. I'll put the links below this if you would like to purchase them. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me. It's Danita, DANITA, @integritycoding.com. Thank you. Bye-bye.